What's up, guys? Hobbo88 here, and welcome back to iRacing for what will be a really exciting video. This week, the latest build has released for iRacing and Fairbury Speedway, or FALS, Fairbury American Legion Speedway as it's known, is amongst the content that has dropped this week. A new dirt track for the service, and we love our dirt tracks here on the Hobbo88 channel. So, as we always do, we're going to go ahead and cut some laps around here in all the dirt cars and get a little bit of a feel for the track, get a look at it in a few different conditions, a few different time of days, in a few different cars, and I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. So, to kick things off, as we usually do, we're going to start with the lower powered vehicles and work our way up to the more powerful stuff at the end of the video. Check the timestamps below if you want to check out a specific car. In the description, I've put in timestamps for when each car is on the track. However, we're going to start things off with the Dirt Legend, so let's get things underway. All right, here we go, guys. Gonna head straight out on track. We don't need the relative turned on. We also don't need our standings box turned on. So let's see what we can do. Baseline setup. Dirt Legend. This should be really good fun. 0% track state here. Apparently, it doesn't look like 0% track state, but it is apparently 0% track state in the morning. It's the time of day that we're running here in the Legend to kick things off. Quarter mile. So this track should be really good fun. I mean, the shorter tracks are much... I've said this 100 million times before on this channel, but for those of you that are new here and don't watch my stuff normally, being an Australian, we do tend to have a lot more short tracks over here. So these quarter mile circuits like this one, as I completely pleb up turn one, these shorter tracks are much more like what I'm used to seeing. So they're much more comfortable for me when I'm just cutting laps. However, they are quite difficult to race on sometimes, a bit tight. Man, this Legend, you've actually really got to wheel it. Let's have a bit of a look at a lower line. I don't have a button map for my tear-offs either, so we're just going to have to deal with the mud on the visor. It's actually pretty good fun here in the Legend. You can't just hold it flat like you can on some of the bigger tracks. You've really got to wheel it and actually drive the car, which is awesome. So I guess by default, the comparisons have to be drawn between this track and places like Kokomo, some of the other shorter tracks on the service. Limaland would be another one. It certainly feels a little wider, this track, than those others. And it's a little hard to say without seeing how the cushion forms, especially a natural cushion throughout a full night of racing, but I feel like the banking and the cushion up to the wall is a little bit nicer on this track as we go a little too far there than on those others. I feel like the cushions get a little bit gnarly at Limaland and Kokomo, but something about this feels like it might be a little nicer. Just so far, we'll see as we get bit again. Let's have a look at the replay. That'll do for the Legend. Alright, let's check out the replay. That's probably enough laps in the Legend, I think, to kick things off here at Fairbury. Very cool track, I have to say. I've seen a little bit of racing here in real life, not in person. I mean, I shouldn't confuse everyone there. I mean, I've seen some actual real life racing here on video before, so I am familiar with the track. I've seen a little bit of the Prairie Dirt Classic and things like that in the past. This is a look at us running around here on the lower line for a couple of laps. You're a little careful with the pitch in the Legends. They bite a little bit sometimes on the turn in there. It's like the front right digs into the big banking on the corner. Anyway, that wraps it up for the Legend. And I have to say, really good fun. So far, I'm impressed. We'll come back right after this with a bit of a look at the Dirt Street Stock next and see how that handles the high banks of Faibury. Alright guys, here we go. Time for the street stock. I haven't driven this thing in a long time. Probably not since, well, probably not since the last time we did a track preview, to be honest. Which would have been, what, Kokomo perhaps? So we'll see how we go. It might take us a couple of laps to remember how to drive them. I'd really like to drive them more often, to be honest. They are good fun. Sound good. So we're back at Faibury, and we've bumped the track state to 20%, so you can start to see a little bit of a slick line, a bit of a groove appearing there in the middle of the track. We're also moved up to midday as the time of day, so sun's out, up nice and high in the sky. I just noticed, with our graphics settings, because we do have our graphics turned down a little bit, just to help try and get a bit better frame rate here when we're in the car. And I noticed that the flag man is just hovering on the main straight there. We have got grandstands and things turned off for while we're in the car, and that's just to help with my ability to stream when there's other cars on the track. So some of the graphics turned down a little bit here while we're out driving around cutting laps, but they are mostly turned back on for the replays. I only just realised that. It's quite funny. We're just starting to get into a bit of a rhythm now. So the high line feels like the natural line to run. We are just running the default iRacing Faibury setup, the one that iRacing provide. And the bottom actually doesn't feel too bad either. These cars are not ultra powerful, so they're a little sluggish getting up off the turn. Don't know how competitive you would be running down here in a race, but the high line definitely feels a little better. Car feels a lot more stable than the Legend did too. I mean, that is a big heavy car by comparison, so it shouldn't be surprising. But definitely starting to get a bit of a feel for how this berm and high line's going to shape up. There is a real lip right up towards the fence that catches you at the last second when you get up there, which is kind of cool. I could just cut laps all day. I know some people still have their issues with iRacing and its implementation of dirt, but I mean, it's just so immersive. It's so much fun. I could just do it for hours. Again, our tear off button doesn't work in this car, so I'm not sure if that's a setting I've got to do something with across all the cars, or if it's just these first two that for some reason don't have a button mapped. That's so much fun, guys. So much fun. Alright, let's back it down and have a look at the pit entry back into the infield, just to get a bit of an idea of what that looks like. Let's just enter anywhere here on the backstretch by the look of it. Alright, let's jump out and take a look at the replay. Well, here it is, the big lumpy street stock. I like it how, as is the case in real life as well, TV camera that I like to use, which is TV3, which is sort of the broadcast position camera at most tracks, is positioned on the back straight, which is something that you do see here in real life as well. Obviously not any good vantage points over on the front straight for cameras in real life. So we're watching here from in the middle of the back straight, or almost down into turn 3 actually. Now, the street stocks are quite slow and cumbersome, but they're also not really. They're quite fast when you look at them. They're pretty competitive. Surprisingly quick. Let's go with that. But a lot of fun. That's for sure. I wish that we could race them more often. I really don't drive them very often. Well, anyway, that's a bit of a look at the street stocks. That's what they're like here at Fairbury. What we're going to do next is come back in the UMP Modifieds, which should be really, really good fun. Cars that are pretty well known at this track, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they run. So don't go anywhere, guys. We're going to be right back with UMP Modifieds. All right, you guys, time to check it out. The UMP Modifieds. And one of the first things you might notice is that I have gone and cranked up the graphics here, given that we're racing by ourselves without any other cars on track, and I'm not trying to stream at the minute, just record. I figured we could probably bump up the graphics settings and get a bit better idea of what this track actually looks like while we're cutting laps. Now we are at 40% track state now, so the track we're at 40%, getting a little more slick. You can see that slick groove in the middle of the track forming. Cushion getting a little bit bigger. We're in the afternoon as well now, so middle of the day for the last run in the street stocks. It's now in the afternoon, so sun's getting a little higher in the sky. Or a little later in the afternoon, I should say. So we'll just try a couple of different lines. I haven't driven the UMP Modified in a little while. We are just running the iRacing default Faibury setup. Not doing anything fancy with setups in any of the cars. Got a little bit wrong there in 3 and 4. Now that we're in a car with a little bit more power though, we can actually see if the bottom line feels any good, which, I mean, the track is so wide that the bottom is feasible, because it's so much shorter around the bottom than it is right around the top. Whoop, just got the fence a little there with the right rear. And again, just a little scrape down the back straight. And that's a big hit on the front straight there. Getting a little greedy off the turns. Our tear off button actually works in this car, so that's good to know. Man, this is so much fun. I really enjoy the UMP Modifieds as well. Some people hate them. Some people really don't like these cars. But I'm not going to lie. I think they're awesome. And in before someone asked in the comments, no, I don't know if iRacing are going to bring out the big block modifieds. And yes, I do hope that they do. Again, a lot of people don't want to see those come to iRacing. And I agree with the majority when it comes to it, in that I'd like to see iRacing do more tracks and more cars at this point, because there's already a heap of cars to pick from. However, I do love my big block modifieds on R Factor, as you guys know if you're a follower of the channel, I love the big block modifieds on R Factor. I'd love to see those things come here to iRacing. That's all we need. We could certainly still do with a few other classes at some point down the track for sure. But once I've got the big blocks, I'll be happy as far as cars go. Now we just need more tracks, keep the variety nice and fresh. We are starting to get there though. They are slow to come. We know that iRacing takes their time with developing new content, especially the tracks, but we are getting there. We've got a few dirt tracks to mess around with now. And I could just keep doing laps in this thing all day long. Unfortunately though, we've still got plenty of other cars to get through, so let's go ahead and park it here in the UMP. We'll go and take a look at the replay, see what it looks like. Looking forward to this. So here it is, the beautiful looking SSR Synergy Sim Racing UMP Modified. I'm really loving our paints at the minute. I think they look bang on. The big number 88 on the side. These cars just look like they're meant to be on this track. They just look right, don't they? As we tested out the high line there. A little bit of a graphics thing that I've noticed with a lot of the tracks, actually, the dirt tracks on iRacing, is the, might be just my settings or something I've got, but the top of the back and the top of the walls from the outside looking in, you can see the shadows and the track through the wall there. A little bit weird. I don't know what that's all about. But I've noticed it at a few tracks. A little frustrating. I think that these UMP Modifieds will make for very, very good racing around this track. Hopefully we get the chance to race them here at some point in the near future. I'll hopefully get a chance to see a couple more laps around the bottom here. Here we go. Right on cue. Oh yeah. So that's Fals anyway in the UMP Modifieds. Very, very cool. Very, very good fun. We're coming back for something completely different next though. We're going to check out the Midgets, which might be a bit of a handful around here. They're good fun little cars. We'll see how we go in those. Usually it's the Midgets that make me look like an idiot in these track previews because I jump in them and without any laps and usually flip it. So we'll see how we go. We'll come back in the Midgets right after this. Alright, you guys know the drill. Here we go. Midgets. On the iRacing default setup for this track. And without any laps in this car, we'll see whether or not we can flip it. Usually, we look like a real idiot. We kept the time of day and track conditions the same as what we just had in the Modified. So 40% track in the afternoon. Surprisingly, we've managed to get up to speed without crashing into anything. Suffering just a little bit on the frame rate though in this car as opposed to the Modified, which is surprising. A little harder to talk and chat while I'm driving this. You got to concentrate just a little harder. And I'm not going to lie, this is incredibly fun to drive around here. This just feels right. That cushion, it grabs the car perfectly. Oh boy. So this is my favourite of the combinations so far, easily. This just feels right. Oh, oh yeah. Again, apologies if it looks a little choppy for you guys. It feels a little choppy, so it'll probably come through in the recording, but... Oh man. It's only a matter of time until we get the wall here and end ourselves. Let's get a little braver every time. We pushed a little too hard there into 3. Oh, we biked hard up at turn 1. That was almost big trouble. Car dug in. Oh, there it is. Oh, no. It was only a matter of time. All right, let's check out the replay. All right, so here it is. The beautiful looking SSR Midget. Very black livery, this one. I like it. We haven't driven the Midget a whole lot lately. We did do the Chili Bowl race not long ago there. But we haven't driven the Midgets much in the last sort of 6 months or so. I know you guys have been wanting to see more of them. Hopefully we get the chance to do some more races in these, but it's just finding the time. But I have to admit, so far, the Midgets here at Fairbury is the best combination so far, in my opinion. Out of the ones that we've driven up to this point, this thing just feels incredible. So we're going to go back to the top here. Oh man, so good. That berm just carries so much momentum. It's a lot steeper than it looks. I mean, I wasn't expecting the banking to be quite so high. It's like tapered as well. It really ramps up as you get near the wall. But perfectly suited to these cars. Oh, that might have been the bike there, I think. We just lifted the left rear. It's a little dicey. And again there on that one. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe there's another one coming that was a bit bigger. Because it got my attention when I did it. Oh yeah, look at that as you start. Now you can see the speed coming down into turn 3 there. Diamonding off the exit there, back to the bottom for another look at the bottom. Man, these things, very, very fun. Really enjoyed the Midgets here. All right, so we'll go ahead and move on. What we're going to come back in next is the 360 Wingless Sprintcar, which should be a real handful. We haven't driven those in a long time, so we'll see what they're like. We'll come back for that right after this. All right, guys, time to drive a car that is not something that I'm very good at driving. I've just done a couple of laps here to test, see if I can figure out what I'm doing, and I've got no idea. So let's just see how this goes. 360 non-wing sprint car, USAC style. Still struggling with frame rates, but now the track condition, or track state, is at 50%. So 55% actually. So getting a little bit slick now. You can see that big slick worn section throughout the whole track. It's also in the late afternoon, so you can see the sun getting a little bit lower in the sky, getting that big shiny reflection happening off the track coming out of turn 4 as we look into the sun. Being a bit of a chicken and staying away from the walls, because I'm really not confident driving these cars, or comfortable. We don't drive them very often. Oh, got a bit of the wall there on the back straight, which in turn got us into the wall at turn 3. Oh, tight down at turn 1 as well. I definitely struggle with the concept of these cars. You need to pitch them in a lot, get them sideways, whereas I tend to like to drive the cars quite straight. That's how I get my speed. But it doesn't really work in these things. You kind of have to get them sideways at the corner. Back them in, if you know what I mean. Otherwise they just get really tight up on the cushion. I'm just going to stay like a little pansy and run around the middle and the bottom. The cars that I've once called rocket-powered roller skates in another video. Because that's what they feel like sometimes. Just checking out the lower line. Oh, we got all the way to the fence too from the bottom there. That might have broken the car a little bit. That's a pretty hard hit. Feels okay. As we get super tight again down at turn 1. Not really able to run the top because I just don't know what I'm doing. Well, they're a unique challenge. I think it's got more to do with the car than the track though. I don't probably drive these cars enough to really have the ability to have too much of an opinion on how they go around here relative to other tracks. They're fun, but they're difficult. Need a bit of time with them to probably really formulate an accurate opinion of it all. And this is just the 360 too, it's not even the 410. But I think I've seen enough. Let's back it down and we'll go check out the replay of this and see what it looks like banging around the cushions here at this track. Alright, so here it is. Still running the old SSR livery on this car. It's been a long time since I've driven it. They do look quite cool. I mean, I just love watching these cars race in real life, by the way. Wingless Sprintcar racing in America is pretty awesome to watch. Even Wingless Sprintcar racing here in Australia is actually really good to watch. It's just that they're not as powerful, a lot slower. As we tend to run a V6 engine in them over here. Still good racing, but not quite the same as watching American USAC 410 Wingless Sprintcar racing especially. Good track for them, I would think, Fairbury. Pretty awesome place for these cars, I would think. Should get good racing on iRacing in these things, assuming you can get a bunch of people together that can actually drive them. That's the key. They're so difficult to drive, it's hard to get good, clean racing. That's where we clocked the wall pretty hard on the back straight and then got it again in turn 3. I feel like we did all right for no practice and a long time since last driving these cars. At least we didn't flip it. But that's a little look at what this track is like in these cars. What we're going to come back in next is something that I don't normally do, but you guys hound me about it every single time. NASCAR trucks. I normally don't include them because for me, I only run, like they should only run at Eldora really, because it's the only track that they race at on the dirt in real life. But you guys always say, why don't you do the trucks? Why don't you do the trucks into these preview videos? So we're going to do it. We're going to try it out. We're going to come back next in the NASCAR trucks. We'll see how they handle the high banks here at Faibury. All right, well, you guys asked for it, so here it is. NASCAR trucks on a dirt track that isn't Eldora. We are just running the Eldora setup because we need something that passes tech. And I feel like an idiot with that attempt at the first lap. Fourth gear might not be quite right for these things. All right, let's try and figure this out. We've moved into the sunset, so it's even later in the day. Track state's now at 65%. So it's definitely getting slick. Man, they're so loose. We know that the trucks are not the easiest to drive on dirt. Slowly starting to remember how to drive them. We have done a little bit of racing in them on the dirt lately with the fun races only a week and a bit ago. So it seems like third gear is the way to go. Just don't be a thunderfoot and you'll be all good. Oh. Man, that was out of control before I knew what was going on there. The bottom might be a little tricky in these. A lot of power and not much grip. Oh, just got the tyre marker on the inside. That's a little better in 1 and 2. Got to be pretty patient. Oh, they're not too bad. And that slick is very, very slick. A lot of concentration required, you guys, to keep these things going in the right direction. If you have a little bit of faith that the cushion's going to catch you, it actually does. So I'll leave you guys to draw your own conclusions about the trucks at Fairbury. Would you like to see these things race here in real life? That would be pretty cool. But we'll back it down. We'll go and have a look at the replay and see what it looks like. But that was interesting. It was definitely a little different. I didn't mind it. Didn't mind it. So let's check out the replay, see what they look like. We'll kick things off there right as we bonked that infield tyre marker at turn 3. Trying to figure out how to run the bottom. And just see the thing wiggling around. Trying to get that power down. Oh yeah, it's a struggle. It's a struggle. All over the track there on that attempt in turns 3 and 4. It's another one of those cars that just takes a few laps to figure out what you're doing. Then once you get into a bit of a rhythm, it's not too bad. Towards the end here, we sort of started to figure out the cushion will actually catch you if you go up near it. Just took me a while to figure that out, that's all. It would certainly be interesting to see these race here in real life. I mean, it's a short track. Perhaps a little too short for the amount of trucks that they would have out on the track at the same time. But be an interesting idea. Here we go, now we're a little higher. I got those right-hand side tyres in the cushion. Not so much there in 3 and 4. Anyway, a unique challenge nonetheless. So we'll wrap up the trucks here, and we've only got 2 left to do, and that's the super late models and then the wing sprint cars. So we'll come back with the big super late models next. We'll see how that goes. It should be really, really interesting actually. So looking forward to that. Here we come, super late models. Alright, so this could be interesting. Super late models, we're still in the sunset. But now, a 90% track state. Oh boy, it is slick. Wheel spin is going to be the flavour of the day. Doesn't drive like a NASCAR truck. Can confirm. We'll just slowly edge our way up the banking here towards the fence. There's not much cushion left up there. Oh, oh boy. Now part of my thinking with running such a high track state here with the late model is that I don't want to run a high track state for the sprint car because it's just too hard to drive. So we'll come back at like a 40% track state in the sprint cars next, so we can actually have a bit of a run in them. But I wanted to see what, oh man, that cushion in the middle of 3 and 4 there. I wanted to see what a big 90+% track state looked like. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing now. There's almost like a bump in the cushion right in the middle of turn 4, and when you hit it with the right rear, it just grabs the car and tightens it up. You can kind of almost even see it. Just stabbing the throttle and the brakes and everything, just trying to get the thing somewhere near where I want it. That's a bit better, nice and smooth. It's a little hard to get a read when the track state's just so slick. But I don't really know that the super late models are a car that I would be all that wowed about on this sort of a track. I mean, I tend not to enjoy them as much on the smaller tracks that are already on the surface. Kokomo, Limaland, I get pretty frustrated driving these cars on those smaller tracks. So I don't know that it would be all that well suited compared to some of the bigger tracks anyway, like your Williams Groves, your Eldoras, Volusia. I think they're the tracks that are more my preference for the super late models. For me, these tracks, these short tracks are probably better suited to the midgets and things like that. And that's just a personal preference thing, everyone's different. So we head back towards the top. Again, that little bump in the middle of 4 coming out to grab me. There's a little bit of a Kokomo feel about turn 3. You can sort of get the car really high. You almost have to turn right at the end of the straight to get up onto the banking at the turn in. Anyway, that's the late models, and in the end there, it wasn't too bad. We sort of started to feel it out and got it running pretty good there on the top at the end. But a unique sort of a challenge, these cars, because they're so big on a narrow cushion when the track state's like that. But that was really good fun. We'll go check out the replay, and then we'll go back out on the track in the sprint cars to wrap things up. So I've already torn up the right rear at this point. This is where we're running around on the bottom line, trying to figure out how to run around the tyre markers on the inside. You can see we're right up in the middle of the slick there on that lap. Despite these cars being quite big and kind of cumbersome sometimes, I'm not going to lie, they look absolutely savage. I love them. They're so aggressive looking. Might be my favourite looking cars of all the dirt cars. They are very, very cool. Right, so here we go. We went venturing back to the top. Sort of figured it out here too. On a very, very worn out track. Not much margin for error up there. If you can get that right rear up in the fluffy stuff like we were, it's not too bad. As I was talking about there, where you can really turn right at the end of the straight and get up onto the wall at your turn-in point. Carry really good momentum. Got a bit loose there off it too. Actually clunked the wall a little bit at the end of the straight on that lap. But anyway, that's the super late models. Very, very good fun, these cars, to drive as it is. But very, very challenging in a high track state like this, especially on a short track. So anyway, I'm looking forward to this though. We're going to come back and have a run in the big bad 410 wing sprint cars. We'll lower the track state back down. We'll head up night time under lights. We'll be back for that right after this. Alright guys, time to hit the big banger. World of Outlaws 410 sprint car. We are at night time now. It's quite dark. The track is very, very dark. The lighting obviously quite poor at this track, which is cool that that's sort of come into the sim. Ooh, we got the wall there in turns 1 and 2. We are just on the default iRacing Faibury setup, as we have been in all the cars so far. Man, oh man. It's taking a little bit to get used to driving the Wing Sprint car again. They're fast. Actually having to really lift out and even dab the brakes a little bit down at corner entry. Alright, let's check out the bottom. We're at 35% track state. I'm not sure if I already said that, but 35% track state, so it's a little bit slick in the middle, but still a good bit of bite left in the track, top and bottom. Definitely feels like the top is much, much better than the bottom, especially in these cars. I don't really know that the bottom's going to be that effective here in any of the cars, to be honest. Very, very flat around there, and you sort of see the same thing at Kokomo and places like that, Lima Land. The bottom rarely is all that effective. Alright, well I think that that's probably enough to get a bit of a feel for it. Obviously the sprint cars are very, very, very good fun. And I quite enjoy driving them at all the tracks, to be honest. They're just very good fun in general. But nonetheless, they are good fun here, it seems. It'll be interesting to see what the racing's like. I think it'll be more like what we see at Kokomo, Lima Land, places like that. Probably a fair bit of carnage. But let's go check out the replay, see what it looks like, and then we'll wrap up things for this video. So here it is, the SSR 410 Wing Sprint car. Good looking bit of kit. Running around on the high lines. Quite a interesting, like a dust almost, coming off the back. Less mud, more dust than what I reckon it normally looks like on other tracks. I don't know if that's a new thing for iRacing or a new thing just for this track, but that's kind of cool, a bit different. These things are very, very fast. You gotta be so brave to drive them up near the wall. Here we go, so we had a look at the bottom. We didn't hit it at all there on the first attempt at turns 1 and 2. A little better here in 3 and 4. I just don't feel like, because the track is flat down on the bottom, unless the bottom's still got some juice in it and the top is right up on the fence and very, very tricky cushion, I just don't feel like the bottom's going to be that fast. But I guess time will tell. We'll see. Won't know till we get out there and actually race some other people. But definitely when the track state's a little lower like this, getting a bit of that banking is going to be the quickest way. So anyway, interested to see what you guys think about it. Let me know what your favorite car is out of the ones that I've been driving in this video. What one do you think will be the best fun around this track? Be keen to get your thoughts on that in the comments below. But thanks for watching, for those of you who stuck out for the whole thing. I appreciate it. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Hobbo88, twitch.tv/ if you want to catch any of the live streams. And don't forget the Discord channel. The link is in the description below. That's the best place to catch up with others in the Hobbo88 community, and you can always get in touch with me over there as well. We've got something like 500 people in there now, which is pretty cool. But that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you guys in the next one.